For hearing people, for normal people, it's so easy. The resources are so much available. University, colleges, everything is available so far for the hearing community. But for deaf community, we are still struggling for more courses to be offered. Because when teachers themselves, who are supposed to teach us, but when they themselves are not aware of sign language, the people, when we see television is on. Do you think without the sound being played in television, you will be able to enjoy television? No. There are many normal hearing people who act and put certificate as they are deaf, they are hard of hearing, but which is not the fact. The parents are not having a shared language at home or at his school, and then putting him to a bilingual school later on at the later age, it is very slow, it is very difficult for the deaf child to pick up what he has lost. Constitution in India, it says that basic fundamental rights that we have, they make us stand equal. We are all equal. It shows our law is in support to us. It commits that the legal rights are equal for all and available for all, but we do not really witness it.
Hello everyone, I am Amandeep Singh, Faculty Coordinator of Samatwa Legal Aid Cell of School of Law and MIMS Indore. Today, as we celebrate the International Week of Deaf, we are turning up the volume on conversations that truly matter. With someone who has been breaking barriers and building bridges without even needing a mic. This week is all about amplifying the voices of deaf community, advocating for their rights, celebrating the rich culture, and contributions of deaf individuals worldwide. The International Week of Deaf is more than just an event. It's a global movement towards inclusivity, equality, and recognition of the unique rights of deaf people. And who better to guide us through this conversation than Mrs. Monica Punjabi Verma, Director of Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy. Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy is celebrating its Golden Jubilee this year. And we also have with us Mr. Sunil Patidar, who has been associated with Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy for last 25 years, first as a teacher, first as a student, and then as an educator. Ma'am and sir, we are truly elated to have you present here today. Starting off with our conversation, please tell us about the journey of your organization, which has completed 50 years, and your vision in promoting inclusivity through your esteemed organization.
Thank you so much for welcoming me today, sir. I really thank you so much. This day, this week that we are celebrating worldwide, you are being part of it and you are contributing equally. So, Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy has completed its 50 years, and that's a golden jubilee. There is much more to be done, definitely, because technology is so high. It's so much available. We do have school, we do have college, BA, MA, BCom, MCom, interpreting courses, teaching courses, vocational training department, diplomas, and B.Ed in Deaf Education, D.Ed in Deaf Education. We have such courses already at Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy. But we see there are much more legal courses, medical courses, degree programs that we really want to be offered in India for deaf people also. And we do have sign language as a subject, but we don't have much to read about deaf history, deafness, and much more. In the NCERT and NIOS, we have seen recently they have started translating subjects in sign language. For hearing people, for normal people, it's so easy. The resources are so much available. University, colleges, everything is available so far for the hearing community. But for deaf community, we are still struggling for more courses to be offered.
Exactly. As we can see, there are a lot of challenges, and our education system is not conducive right now for the people who are deaf. But the government is taking steps. But for now, I would like to know from you, sir, what are the day-to-day challenges that a deaf person comes across?
Okay. Myself, if you talk about me, Sunil, earlier I was into inclusive setup. I was studying through inclusive setup in a general school with normal hearing children. But at the age of 7, I shifted to Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy, Mukh Badhir Sangathan. I saw my principal directors who are deaf themselves, Usha Madam, Rajkumar sir, and all the teachers at IDBA were so accessible. They were signing with us, they were teaching through sign language. So I did not feel any obstacle or challenge. I did my school and then college. And Monica, who is the director of Indian Sign Language Department, I did courses. I went as a teacher in Bangalore, Riva, Bhopal, at many places. But when I went out of my own school and college, I felt myself very lucky that I did not have such challenges to face. But other deaf people, my few of my friends, I've seen them struggling in education. Because when teachers themselves, who are supposed to teach us, but when they themselves are not aware of sign language, they just ask us to copy. They just ask the students to copy from the board and mug up, and they see everything is written so beautifully in the copies, which is not right. And when we talk about literacy, we feel deaf people have some challenges to talk in written language with the people. When we see television is on. Do you think without the sound being played in television, you will be able to enjoy television? No. Similarly, we want an interpreter, we want sign language access through entertainment also, like politics, entertainment, sports, everything. There is so much we need accessibility in television also. For example, public places, police station, railway station, banks, everywhere we want interpretation, we want accessibility, because there are people, when they go and talk to the people there, they are made it wrong. They are made blamed as wrong because of communication gap happens there, which is not right actually. It has to be linguistically correct. In deaf school, or maybe in inclusive setup, the interpretation services, quality interpretation services needs to be there. We should not think of majority and only one deaf person taking admission, but the deaf person also has given the fees or has paid the fees or has taken the admission. So accessibility has to go far equally with the deaf children also. And then another challenge is job. Job is the biggest challenge in India, because deaf people, for example, there are many normal hearing people who act and put certificate as they are deaf, they're hard of hearing, but which is not the fact. Now, this approach is really, uh, there are people taking away the opportunities being offered or reserved for the deaf and hard of hearing people, but the government or the system is not really, and the medical board also, they should really check whether the person came to them is really deaf or hard of hearing or not. So it is their responsibility before issuing any kind of certificate, because this audiogram and audiogram, I think this is not the right thing. BERA test, uh, which is actually objective, that BERA test has to be done for checking the hearing disabilities.
Right. So, sir, you answered a lot of questions there. The reason I asked you this question is to make all of us, all the hearing people, aware of what a deaf person goes through on a daily basis. So, basically, to make them aware and also to make them a little empathetic, uh, seeing the challenges, basically, to make them little empathetic in their dealings with deaf people. So, my next question to you is, what is the role that institutions like Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy or other such institutions play in order to ease out the lives of deaf people?
In India, I'll say it's Very firstly, the first bilingual school of India is Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy because Dr. Usha Punjabi ji and Rajkumar ji, the founders themselves are deaf. For example, BEd-HI, the special education course BEd-HI, used to tell and teach that you should not use sign language. The teachers were trained and taught that not to use sign language with the students. And there are such 800 deaf schools already existing in the country. And the teachers are all confused whether to teach through sign language or not. But here in our school, Usha madam always made sure that the teacher should learn sign language. And if there are deaf students who are willing to learn and pick up speech also, it is their choice and that is being offered equally. But teaching should happen through sign language because that is completely accessible for them. In India, for example, this IDBA is associated, Mukbadir Sangathan is associated with MP Board, Sports Association, Art and Cultural Association, many organizations, and they are all offering sports, art, culture, such workshops and conferences through sign language. So it looks like an ecosystem. Everything around us, I don't think my chain ever is broken, but yes, other people are definitely challenging, struggling. So first, if sign language is given to the deaf child as the foundation language and first language, then literacy will take place. Then only reading, writing will be effective.
Thank you, Sunil sir, for joining us. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure listening from you.
Thank you. My pleasure too.
Now, I would like to welcome another faculty of Indore Deaf and Bilingual Academy, Mr. Mayank Singh, who has also been associated with IDBA for last 25 years. Initially, he was a student, and then for last 3 years, he has been teaching in IDBA. So, I would like to welcome him in this conversation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for welcoming me, sir.
As Sunil sir talked about the significance of sign language, the role of IDBA, things that are needed to be done by the government, by the society, and by other social and industrial institutions. I would like to take this conversation forward by asking you what is the role of sign language? How has it eased your life? And how can sign language bring about a change in the people of deaf community? And how do you think we can actually make all the people of the society, at least a lot of people in our society, learn this sign language so that society becomes inclusive for people who are deaf?
Okay. Your question is very good, sir. It's very true that sign language is very important and valuable because sign language is the first language. It's our mother tongue. So as people have Hindi or English as mother tongue, for deaf people, when we cannot hear, it's only sign language. It's only visual sign language which makes us complete. And sign language comes to a deaf child in a very later age is already a loss. So the brain, the critical period brain requires language from your childhood, from day one. So sign language, for me, I don't feel any challenge, but particularly in my own life. But yes, in the country, I've seen. I'm very lucky to be the part of Indore Deaf Bilingual Academy and be here for 25 years. Let it be my principal Usha madam or Rajkumar sir. They're like my parents. Everybody, the hearing teachers, hearing staff, everybody in IDBA, office staff, kitchen staff, hostel staff, everybody signs. So automatically I get a lot of opportunities to learn and grow. I actually got it in my childhood. So now So the metaphor, when we talk about metaphor, also linguistic things, also small issues, also it is very important for a child to be able to see language in his surrounding. That helps his brain to grow and cognitive development takes place. So it is very important for those to have sign language who do not have it yet. When the hearing parents who have deaf child do not have the knowledge of sign language, and they put their child to any school, special school or inclusive school or oral school where the sign language is not provided, and when the child comes back to the home, even the parents are not able to communicate with the child, such way years and years go pass on, and the child and the parents are not having a shared language at home or at his school, and then putting him to a bilingual school later on at the later age, it is very slow, it is very difficult for the deaf child to pick up what he has lost. The critical period which is being lost, it is very difficult to cover up in the later age. So it has to be very starting, very foundational age where sign language should be introduced.
So, like you rightly pointed out, the problems which hearing parents might face when they are blessed with a deaf baby. So basically, it again points out to the need of learning sign language for everybody, right? Even hearing people should be aware of sign language, right? So moving on to the next question, I would like to ask you, what is the role that government and our industry can play in making persons with disability in general and persons of deaf community an asset for the country? The situation as it is today is basically seeing them as people who need governmental support, uh, who needs to be taken care of by the country on the expense of exchequer. But then how to, and as long as the situation will persist, the plight of disabled people will not improve. So how to make them, what are your suggestions, what do you expect from the government to do uh, to make you an asset for the economy so that you can also contribute to the economy and resources of the country?
That's a very good question. Maybe difficult for me to answer, but I'll try to explain it or answer it. In India, we do respect our government, and government is respecting us, providing us what we want. Like for example, DEPWD, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, they take care of disability, blindness, deafness, intellectual disability. The government is empathetic to us, but for example, when they support blind people, blind support them. When they support physical disabled might support the government and the country. But when they support deaf people, they do have budgets. They for others, accessibility and budget is being provided very easily. But for deaf, when they talk about deaf, they just provide hearing aids or cochlear implantations because they see disability only in the ears. That the deaf needs, so deaf community is not about that. Deaf community has its own language, its own culture, its own curriculum. So they need to provide it accordingly. For example, if we do not have interpreters, if we do not have accessibility in sign language, only hearing aids cannot benefit us. So government should involve us in making decision that what is being really required for the deaf community. So this support and openness by the government can help us help government to make right decisions.
Right. So, sir, as we are moving towards becoming a more inclusive society, a better society in which everybody is treated equally, we are not yet there. We have a long way to go. But then I think our government is also taking certain steps, but I'm sure we need to be more proactive on that front. So, my last question to you would be, because it's not only the government that is responsible for its citizens. We as a society, and particularly institutions like NMIMS Indore, other law schools and educational institutions in general, also have an important role to play. So, what do you think that the educational institutions can do to make the conditions of deaf people more better in the country, and basically to build a more inclusive society?
So I'll start with my answer. So your question is really good, sir. As we say in our country, there are universities, there are NGOs, there are organization institutes where deaf people are willing to go and study, but the accessibility is not there, interpreters are not available, there is no budget for them, who will be teaching, that the resources are not available. Even the constitution in India, it says that basic fundamental rights that we have, all 7 rights are equal. They make us stand equal, religion wise or gender wise or disability wise or non disability wise. We are all equal. It shows our law is in support to us. It commits that the legal rights are equal for all and available for all, but we do not really witness it. We have got 140 crores of population, so it should be really equal. When it says it is equal, it should be equal. And the organization, educational institutes, universities, NGOs, colleges, there are where deaf people are willing to go and study. It should be made accessible, and teachers, for example, in MP, the police department says that the training being given to the police will have Indian Sign Language compulsory as a subject. Similarly, in law colleges also, the law trainees should be taught sign language.
That's a great answer, sir. Indeed, our law, and for us, the most sacred document of for our country, the Constitution of India, it only talks about persons, and for it and for our constitution, all the people in this country are equal, whether they are men, women, transgender, or people with disability. So everybody is, our constitution is inclusive, and our approach to governance must also be so. I hope we'll achieve that sooner or later, but then it would be great if we work proactively on this and make a society an inclusive place for everybody, where everybody can feel that they belong to this country and they are proud citizens of this country.
Very true. It will definitely happen someday.
So it was a pleasure talking to you, Monica ma'am and Mayank sir.
Similarly, I'm very happy to meet you today, sir. Thank you so much for that.
This conversation enlightened me on several fronts.
And you invited me for this interview, for this podcast. So I'm really very happy. And this is an example of inclusiveness that you have invited us for this interview today. And we are so happy to have you.
I'm glad that you could be part of this conversation. I could have this conversation with you. I hope to have these conversations much more frequently.
Definitely, I'll be happy to involve and be a part of any kind of change that we want to bring.
And I would like to sign off by just saying that I hope these conversations don't happen much more frequently only between us, but we as a society and as a country also have these type of conversations more frequently, and we are open to discussing such things, and also to be able to work on resolving such issues and to make our society a livable place and a much more inclusive place.
Very true, sir. Thank you so much. Very happy to see your last statement, sir. It is very important. Each and every person in country has to be happy. Thank you so much.